Who is Barack Obama?
Recent NBC News Wall Street Journal poll indicated a majority of Americans approved of last week's Supreme Court decision to make so-called partial birth or late-term abortions illegal. Most of the people on this stage put out statements and criticized the ruling. A lot of American families find this just a hideous topic for discussion. Is this a case, do you think, of the Supreme Court and the public with opinions in one place and yet a lot of elected officials in another? Senator Obama, on this same topic, what about your view on the decision on partial birth abortion and your reaction to most of the public agreeing with the court's holding?
You know, I think that most Americans recognize that this is a profoundly difficult issue for the women and families who make these decisions. They don't make them casually. And I trust women to make these decisions in conjunction with their doctors and their families and their clergy. The broader issue here is, do women have the right to make these profoundly difficult decisions, and I trust them to do it.
With respect to partial birth abortion, I am completely supportive of a ban on late-term abortions, partial birth or otherwise.
$40 million abortions. At what point does a baby get human rights, in your view?
Well, you know, I think that whether you're looking at it from a theological perspective or a scientific perspective, answering that question with specificity, you know, is above my pay grade.
With one more vacancy on the court, we could be looking at a majority hostile to a woman's fundamental right to choose for the first time since Roe versus Wade, and that is what is at stake in this election.
Well, the first thing I'd do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that I'd do.
Some people have said that Barack Obama was uninformed or may not have fully understood the implications of this bill, but he voted against it 3 times. That's calculated. He himself has defended his vote by saying that he would have voted for it had it been identically worded as a federal bill. But as chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee in 2003, he stopped the identical wording from being introduced. Barack Obama can play word games, but at the end of the day, his opposition was responsible for living babies.
Well, you know, I think that Ronald Reagan was delivering the right message at the right time, because what had happened was, I think the Democrats had gotten complacent, had gotten fat and happy. They thought that you could get a government program to solve every problem. There wasn't much attention to how regulation might be choking business. And so Ronald Reagan came in and said, you know, we need to break out of the old ways of doing things and create a leaner, more effective government. That was the right message then.
But I do think that your record and what you say does matter. And when it comes to a lot of the issues that are important in this race, it is sometimes difficult to understand what Senator Obama has said, because as soon as he is confronted on it, he says that's not what he meant. The facts are that he has said in the last week that he really liked the ideas of the Republicans.
Now, let's talk about Ronald Reagan. What you just repeated here today is patent. Wait, no, Hillary, you just said that I complimented the Republican ideas. That is not true. What I said, and I will provide you with a quote, what I said is that Ronald Reagan was a transformative political figure because he was able to get Democrats to vote against their economic interests to form a majority to push through their agenda, an agenda that I objected to, So I want to be clear. What I said had nothing to do with their policies. So I want to be clear. What I said had nothing to do with their policies, an agenda that I objected to. So I want to be clear. What I said had nothing to do with their policies.
Well, you know, I think that Ronald Reagan was delivering the right message at the right time, because what had happened was, I think the Democrats had gotten complacent, had gotten fat and happy. They thought that you could get a government program to solve every problem. There wasn't much attention to how regulation might be choking business. And so Ronald Reagan came in and said, you know, we need to break out of the old ways of doing things and create a leaner, more effective government. That was the right message then.
So I want to be clear. What I said had nothing to do with their policies.
It is sometimes difficult to understand what Senator Obama has said, because as soon as he is confronted on it, he says that's not what he meant.
If a mandate was the solution, we could try that to solve homelessness by mandating everybody buy a house. The reason they don't have a house is they don't have the money. And so our focus has been on reducing costs, making it available. I am confident that if people have a chance to buy high-quality health care that is affordable, they will do so, and that's what our plan does, and nobody disputes that.
You know, I have the privilege of meeting President Obama a number of times, and always surprises me to hear critics describe the president as cold and aloof. I have never found him that way. He loves to socialize, health care, car companies, things of that nature.
In 1996, when he was a college professor running for Illinois State Senate from a wealthy liberal Chicago neighborhood, Barack Obama answered a question in a local paper called Outlines. He checked a box next to the sentence, "I favor legalizing same-sex marriages and would fight efforts to prohibit such marriages." Well, it seems pretty clear-cut, doesn't it? But once he was actually in office, his position suddenly and inexplicably began to change. In 1998, responding to an Illinois State Legislative National Political Awareness Test, here's how he responded to the question, "Do you believe that the Illinois government should recognize same-sex marriages?" His answer, undecided. By 2004, on the verge of his campaign for national office, the United States Senate, Mr. Obama was telling the Windy City Times that he supported civil unions, saying, quote, "I think that marriage, in the minds of a lot of voters, has a religious connotation. I know that's true in the African-American community." Then 4 years later, running for president, appearing at the Saddleback megachurch in Southern California, talking with Pastor Rick Warren, he said quite clearly he was against same-sex marriage. So that's the chronology. In 1996, he supported same-sex marriage and said he would fight for it. 12 years later, running for president, he opposed it and says he still does, though he now says his position is evolving. Hard to see how the president's position has changed so much. The only thing that has changed is his need for a wider audience to vote for him. Paul, how is it possible that then, Professor Obama said he's in favor of same-sex marriage, and now he's had this evolution to where he's now no longer in favor? I mean, it's got to just be politics.
Well, probably it is. I don't like to criticize other people's motives, but at that time, his politics were all about winning a state Senate district in a very progressive part of Chicago, which is a progressive city. Then the politics changed. He became a young man on the move. Illinois, a much different place than just his little district, and he then came out against it. It is just politics.
But I don't hear a lot of Democrats attacking, their own president for hypocrisy. The president is now saying, well, my opinion on this is evolving, which is clearly, kind of a hint to people in the gay community, to people who do support same-sex marriage, that maybe he will one day support it. I mean, is he trying to have it both ways?
Well, sure, all of us do, and certainly politicians no different from the rest of us. I don't think it's hypocritical, though, at all. I do think there may be some, who knows, I can't peer into his heart. There may be some authentic evolution here, but Cleve makes a good point. He's a little late to this, and there is, I know this.
But how do you evolve from, I support it in 96, to I don't support it, to, oh, you know what, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to support it? I mean, it just doesn't logically make sense.
I think it's time for us to end the embargo on Cuba. As president, I'm not going to take off the embargo.
What I've said is I want to provide a tax cut for 95% of working Americans. 95%. If you make more If you make less than $250,000 a year, then you will not see your income tax go up, your capital gains tax go up, your payroll tax, not one dime. And 95% of working families, 95% of you out there, will get a tax cut.
Understand that only 6% of Americans make more than $97,000 a year. So 6% is not the middle class, it's the upper class. And, you know, this is the kind of thing that I would expect from Mitt Romney or Rudy Giuliani, where we start playing with numbers. We start playing with numbers in order to try to make a point. And we can't do that. No. This is too important. But understand, this is the top 6%, and that is not the middle class.
Charlie Gibson raising the issue of gun control with Obama last night, specifically whether he favors a ban on handguns.
In 1996, your campaign issued a questionnaire, and your writing was on the questionnaire that said you favored a ban on handguns.
No, my writing wasn't on that particular questionnaire, Charlie.
Well, that's an Obama misstatement. His handwriting does appear on a questionnaire. Here's the survey in question. The Obama camp did not deny that that is Obama's handwriting. And the answer is yes to the question, do you support legislation to ban the manufacture, sale, and possession of handguns? Now, the Obama camp claims the answers provided in the survey don't reflect his current views. But why doesn't he say that? I mean,
to understand Obama's real position on gun control, voters just need to dig a bit into his past. Politico.com uncovered a questionnaire from 1996 that showed Obama taking a much more liberal stance on gun control than he now claims to have.
We got a hold of a questionnaire that Barack Obama filled out for a very influential liberal group in Chicago when he ran for state senate in 1996, in which he indicated that he would support legislation that would ban the manufacture, sale, and even possession of handguns.
The questionnaire even has Obama's handwriting on the document, but his campaign continues to deny its authenticity.
I've proposed a plan to provide health care to every American. Regardless of what your plan is, the question is, how do you get it done? Now, I respect the Clintons back in '93 for actually having tried to get this done. But, see, I think they did it the wrong way because they went behind closed doors. Table like this, where all the key players are sitting, and we'll televise it on C-SPAN, so that the American people understand what the choices are. I mean, there are a whole host of things that, if you talk to the American people sensibly about it, you're not going to get 100% agreement, but at least now they understand what's at stake. And so if congressmen start trying to play games, you know, the public understands. And that's why I think it's so important to open up the process.
It'll be on C-SPAN. It will be streaming over the net.
It'll be televised on C-SPAN. I can't guarantee it'll be exciting.
All this will be done on C-SPAN.
And broadcasting those negotiations on C-SPAN.
Would you have liked to see C-SPAN in the negotiations to see what was going on behind closed doors?
Well, a couple things on that issue. The president said that we're all going to be on C-SPAN. He never asked us, and we don't work for the government. We would have covered it. But it was just interesting that he assumed that he said they're going to be on C-SPAN, they're going to be on C-SPAN. Sometime in the future, somebody who is a leader is going to recognize the public is so cynical about what goes on in Washington that the best way to introduce them to the way it really goes on is to let them see it. And I think a lot of cynicism will go away. Because now, I'm afraid that not nobody, but very few people trust what they see on television because they know something's always going on behind the scenes.
We're going to talk Barack Obama and this big deal with Big Pharma.
It required an investigative reporter from the LA Times to discover that there were secret meetings, secret negotiations by Barack Obama's people with the big drug companies, and it was a deal in secret. Billy Townsend, the guy that Barack Obama, during the campaign, said, this guy's a creep, we won't deal with him. That was the guy that they shook hands with. And when I say shook hands, that ain't metaphorical. It was a backroom deal.
Because they know something's always going on behind the scenes.
there are going to be responsibilities for citizens that we've got to make some difficult choices in terms of end-of-life care. And, the 20% of patients who account for 80% of the costs, we've got to figure out how do we manage the chronically ill more effectively. We've got to make some difficult choices in terms of end-of-life care.